Hello everyone, and welcome to Tripp's art class. Today we're going to be drawing Max from Where the Wild Things Are. So I have my reference ready, I have my handy sketchbook, I have my drawing pencil, so here I go. Let's go ahead and begin to sketch this out. So now what I'm going to go ahead and do first to make sure everything fits on my paper is I'm just going to not get everything perfect, but just very, very roughly make sure I get the initial shapes. So there's his head, then we have this shape that kind of comes right there and comes down for his arm. We're gonna have some type of shape that's gonna come down here, and then his arm comes out here, kind of matches the same angle. The line comes here. Right there is kind of where his foot comes down. We have his leg, his foot right there, and then his foot looks a little bit bigger, oddly, than the first one, looking at the reference, and they are drawings, so they're not photographs. Okay, so that's kind of my rough sketch, so I can make sure everything's somewhat proportionate. And then I can kind of begin to clean up everything from there. So another reason why I do a very, very rough sketch to make sure everything fits on the page is so that I don't go off the page. It's horrible when you put so much energy and detail into a drawing and then it doesn't even fit on the page. And you have to just erase all those details and kind of start over again. I move my markers, they're kind of in the way there. And I'm still refining a lot of smaller details. Notice this little bit of a curve here as it swoops in. It kind of curves out right there. I'm going to kind of begin to focus on the foot here a little bit, which is I'm really focusing on these lines because it's someone else's illustration from Where the Wild Things Are. So I'm not really going off of so much reality, I'm going off of someone's unique perception of reality already. Which means I really have to focus on the lines. Because if I draw it the way I think it should look, well, it's not going to be accurate. So right there, I see a little mistake. I didn't really separate those quite right. And let's go ahead and begin to work on the face. I'm going to pull this up just a tad. Take my super handy kneaded eraser. course, he has his little whiskers coming out of there and right here for his costume. Give these buttons a little bit more of three-dimensional look. And then we have the tail. Almost forgot about the tail. And we'll go ahead and put this guy on a picture plane so we don't have him just floating in space. Okay, so there is the rough, very, very rough version of Max from Where the Wild Things Are. So since I have that part done, what I'm going to do is take my trusty kneaded eraser, kind of mold it up. Always reminds me of old chewing gum. And then I'm going to kind of change the opacity a little bit. We're drawing. So I can see the lines, but they're super, super, super light. Now, this is the fun part because the hard part's done. I already kind of figured it out, and I'm going to work from left to right because I'm right-handed and I don't want to smear my artwork. So working from the top left, this is where I get to go a little bit darker. Now I'm still looking at the original reference to kind of clean things up a little bit. One challenge I want you to be thinking about is how tight are you holding your pencil? Are you gripping it super, super tight? Have a loose grip on your pencil. If you're gripping the pencil too tight, you might be too stressed while you're drawing. Like I said many times, drawing should not be a stressful activity. It should be a relaxing activity. You have enough stressors in life. Don't make drawing something stressful. Just do it. And it's not going to look exactly like the original. We don't even want that. If we wanted that, we would just take a picture of the original. This is your version of it. These are your sketch marks as you're stretching your imagination. Okay, I'm going to go through and add some shading here. I'm going to think about this. Now, if I look at this shape, I'm going to break every shape up. This shape right here, say my light source is coming in at this angle. Boom! It's coming in this way. So maybe we can add a little bit of shading here. Not much. A little bit. A little bit here. Maybe this comes a little bit off of our character. I'm adding some shadows to his face. This part of his face is a little bit more in the shadow. Now it's almost kind of like what we do with cross-hatching. Kind of the same idea. And just, instead of doing lines, we're just, we're pretty much still making lines, but we're just making them close together. my pencil was getting kind of a flat edge there. I wanted a little bit more sharpness to it, so I don't know if you saw that, but I turned my pencil a little bit just to get a little bit more of a fine points.
Now my version of Max from Where the Wild Things Are is a little bit different. He's a little bit longer, a little bit more stretched out. So as you can see, I'm kind of doing like a cross hatching. They're just a lot closer together, the lines are. I just turned my pencil a little bit, so I'll have a little bit of a sharper edge again. I'm going to go through and add a little bit more shading here. A little more shading here. And then we'll move on to the feet. I want to get these lines a little bit more accurate. Sometimes it helps to turn your sketchbook. Now this foot kind of, in my opinion, just looks kind of odd in the reference. But hey. We're going to draw it the way we see it. We'll add some shading here. And then for the tail, let's go ahead and work on the whiskers. We'll work on the tail a little bit. I'm going to kind of have it look a little bit bushy. I'm going to shade using smaller lines. Trying to make them slightly curved. And then we have this line back there. I'm gonna make sure kind of sketch that out again. So there's kind of the gist of the drawing. I'm going to go ahead and put that pencil away, and I'm going to pull out one of my shading pencils. Now this is my Blackwing 42 shading pencil. I'm going to pull out a piece of scratch paper. Notice here, this is a
pretty fine tip right now, so I'm going to go through and I'm going to dull it down. Get a nice flat tip on this pencil. Then I'm going to go through and begin to shade a little bit more. Turn it for a moment to go ahead and get that fine tip again. I'm going to switch back to the dull tip again. So in this drawing, Max, the character, his hands are behind his back. It's kind of displaying some attitude. Now tip, when you are shading, don't just have dark values and then super light values. Try to have a lot of the mid tones or the mid values. So for example, if your value scale is like from 1 to 7, from dark to light, have some 3s, 4s, and 5s in there. And be courageous when you are shading. Don't be shy. Feel free to take a risk. And then I'm going to think the light sources come in this way. We're going to apply some shadows. Now here's one dilemma. The original reference doesn't really have any shadows. So I'm going to really have to think about this. If the light's coming in this direction, I'm probably going to add some shadows behind him. So let's go ahead and really map this out. And for emphasis, feel free to go back in and put some darker line work where it needs to be. Get a little bit creative with it. Feel free to really push the value in your pencil. Some parts are lighter and some parts are darker. I'm almost doing like a form of cross-hatching shading right now, which is kind of fun. And try to, if you can, do away with lines that could just kind of be shades. So instead of having this be a sharp line, I'm going to try to make it more into just part of the shadow. Part of the shading, I'm sorry, part of the shading. And okay, I'm going to step back here. I'm going to look away for a moment. Give my eyes a break from my drawing that I've been looking at for a long time. Look back at it and think, what else can I add? I kind of want to blend this line into the shadows a little bit more. And when you're doing art, and this is a big lesson right here. Don't be thinking in your mind, okay, how much more can I do to be done? How much more can I do till I get done? Don't be asking that question. Like, don't be like anticipating like just a little bit more and I'm done, a little bit more and I'm done. Be thinking about it as like a really good video game that you want to explore every part of it. Like, you don't want it to end. It's kind of the attitude you should have. Like, I don't want this drawing to end. What else can I add? What else can I explore? What else can I try? What else can I experiment with? That's a better way to think about your artwork. Because then you go through and you just keep on adding little details, and that improves your artwork. The artist that's just like, okay, can I be done now? Can I be done? Number one, you're not really enjoying what you're doing if you just want it to be done. So I might think you're not relaxed when you're drawing. It's a stressor for you. And drawing should not be a stressor. And if you're super anxious just to finish, the quality of your work just isn't going to be what it could be. Dull down my pencil one more time. A nice flat edge. Work on these shadows a little bit more. Now, technically, there's a difference between shadows and shades. Okay? Shades appear on your actual artwork. So, for example, how I did this part right here is the casting, the shade. But the shadow is kind of what I'm doing now. Okay, so for now, I think that's probably good. I'm going to make sure this is also something you should do when you're shading. First of all, check your hand and see if you have a lot of pencil on it. I don't really have a whole lot, so I know I did not smear a whole lot. But just in case you did, when you're completely done, take your eraser and go around your artwork. What's cool about the kneaded eraser, you can kind of stretch it out where it really does kind of act like almost like a broom. Cleans up your paper. You can't really notice it until you start to do this, but there were some areas where I did slightly smear the artwork. Now, I'm a big fan of just kind of leaving the shade lines in your artwork. But what some people like to do, and I'll kind of demonstrate here, you can take something like this. This is a blending stick. Guess what? A Q-tip works really well as well. And you can take this and you can actually
use this to kind of blend certain areas. Some people like to use their fingers as well. Not as a big fan of using fingers, just because I've had students so many times just have their whole fingers just covered in lead, and it was like a big mess. So I'm just going to kind of show you what you can kind of do. Some people hate blending like this because they value the original line work so much. And you do have to be cautious. You don't want to just fuzz out your entire drawing. Yeah, that's not the point of this. I'm just kind of, I probably wouldn't have done this, but I just kind of wanted to demonstrate how it can kind of work. And honestly, probably what I would recommend this for the most is just doing the shadows on the ground. And let's go ahead and maybe add a little bit more here. It's kind of cool because you can do some very, very, very light work. So those areas that were the solid white now have a little bit of value to them. It just wasn't there before. Okay, everyone. Well, that is it for our shading value tutorial, where you can see here we're using multiple values from the value scale to draw max from Where the Wild Things Are, the famous popular children's book novel. So thank you so much for hanging out today at Tripp's Art Class. Feel free to subscribe if you want more videos like this, or art book reviews and art blogs and everything else we do on this channel. So thank you so much. I'll catch you later. Have a great day.